Andrew Whitworth, Amazon Prime Thursday Night Football analyst, Super Bowl champ with the Rams, and a four-time Pro Bowl offensive lineman joining us on the program, courtesy of Mattel. You got a philosophy on rookie quarterbacks there?
I think I agree with you. It's one of those things. I think there's really not a bad decision, but you look at recent history, most guys have waited, have sat out a little bit, sat from the sideline and watched some. I mean, I understand with him, they feel like, I don't know how competitive they're going to be this year, so why not put him in there and just learn as we go? But I kind of agree. Like, it'd be interesting to see, maybe keep him out until it gets to that point in the season and then play from there. Because at least then you don't start off a whole year, 17 games of him having a rough go of it, because you're going to have a learning process. You hear Peyton Manning talk about that. You hear a lot of guys, that played early. Man, what a grind that was. And the last thing you want is him losing any confidence at that position going into next season.
What's it like when you get in the huddle and you realize that quarterback is just nervous as can be?
I think for me, I started off with a veteran quarterback, and then later in my career, Andy Dalton came in as a rookie, starting at the very beginning himself. A.J. Green, I had a bunch of rookies in there. Clint Bowling, A.J. Green, Andy Dalton. You look around the huddle, you can tell. I think they think sometimes that you can't see it in their eyes or their voice, but when there's a little shakiness going on. And so I think just settling those guys in, and that's where, Quentin Nelson and some of those guys, it's going to be useful, man. You're going to have to talk life into him, continue to talk that confidence into him, because he's going to make great plays and be on cloud nine, and then he's going to make plays where he's going to feel like, man, I don't know if I can do this or not. And he's going to need veteran presence in that huddle to get him going each and every week through the plays and the ebbs and flows of NFL football.
I know you're looking at the preseason differently than you did when you were playing, but as an analyst, what should we take away from any performance in the preseason, good or bad?
I can be cynical. Sometimes I get too negative on the preseason. There is plays that matter. It is good to see some guys get out there and take significant snaps. Obviously, my last 5 years with Sean, I don't think I touched the field in the preseason, but maybe once. So I'm not a huge preseason fan. I think that sometimes, especially with edge rushers, corners, when they're going against guys, when you're talking that man-to-man world, living on an island as tackles, corners, edge rushers, receivers, the talent really does matter. Who you're facing matters. And so I think we can get a little too excited sometimes just seeing a great rush or a great play by a tackle if he's not playing somebody who's really going to be out there on Sundays. But, it's good to see them produce and to show production and show what they're going to look like during the season. I think you can kind of find some clips where you say, all right, this is going to be a problem for this guy, or if he can get to this during the season, he's going to have success.
Why does Andy Reid play Patrick Mahomes in the preseason?
Andy Reid's old school. Look, as much fun as Andy Reid likes to have, he's got one of the toughest training camps. Talking to Travis and Patrick this summer, I got to play golf with them in American Century. You know what? That's the main thing they talk about. Is Andy Reid doesn't play around. He likes to get after it. He likes physical practices. They hit the ground in their practices. It's not, tapping off all the time. There is some real tackling that happens. I think in his mind, you have to do some of that to really have your mindset right for what the NFL season's like. And that's the way he's convinced it's done. And he's been pretty successful at it.
Why don't other coaches emulate that?
I think sometimes you get into all this sports science stuff that's part of this new era of football, and you can overthink every little moment. And I think some coaches, it's all about how healthy can we be week one? Do I have every single guy that I want on the roster week one ready to go and healthy? And that's the only thing they think about. And I don't know if you're really ever in control of that. I think sometimes you think you are, and you think you can control it by keeping them out of preseason games or limiting the action. But then at the end of the day, there's some kind of consequence for that when you get into game one or two, because I know even for me, not playing in the preseason, the nerves I felt my first two games in the season, even as a 16, 14, 15-year vet, were a lot. It was more nerves than I normally felt going into a football game. And so you haven't been out there in the pads. I'm lighting it up. The lights are on. The people are screaming. And it's like there's a new energy level. So you got to be, I think, able to handle that a little bit. So it's interesting that more coaches, honestly, aren't more on the side of Andy Reid than the latter.
How often did you go to the line of scrimmage and forget the snap count?
Well, I mean, Dan, I've never false started ever, so I don't. It's always been somebody else's fault. But the quarterback's voice was weird, or he kind of stuttered. It was always his
Of
fault. But
course.
I've definitely forgot the snap count many a time. For me, really, it became I started watching the screens. All these new stadiums, you can see the replays on the screens from almost anywhere on the field. So I would be in the huddle watching the play before, kind of dissecting myself. All right, this was good, that was bad, or whoa, we didn't do this right, and kind of giving some feedback to guys
Oh,
instead of really listening. So a lot of times I broke the huddle, and my left guards actually were all young guys, obviously, for my last 7, 8 years. I had them, that was their job. They learned that in training camp. Your job is to remind me the play and the snap to the line of scrimmage, because my old self has probably gone ADD and forgot what we were doing.
he's Andrew Whitworth. He won a Super Bowl with the Rams, joining us on behalf of Mattel. These are the little people thing that Mattel's doing, right?
Yeah, Little People Collector Set. I got to do this for the Super Bowl, just for the game for the Eagles and Chiefs. It was amazing and such a success that we've rolled it out to the regular season. Here we are. We got all 32 teams are represented. We're really excited about it. There's some really cool people in there. I mean, all different kind of figures that you're going to get. In the Super Bowl last year, you just had players from the game. This year, you got your Joe Burrow, Josh Allen's, Von Millers, people like that. It's going to be really exciting. I can't wait for people to get a hold of these because I know how special they are personally.
The difference of what you're eating now as opposed to if you were playing this season, how different is your diet?
You got to be on screen ready, right? I mean, the TV ads, I don't know how many pounds. When you're 330, I think it adds like 20 or 50 pounds, maybe. It depends. It's all about the neck size for me. So, I definitely weigh better. Let's put it that way. I can't have as many, I've earned this meals. I have very little of those. Sitting around talking about football instead of playing it, you don't earn your calories quite as well.
Well, what was your max weight that you played at?
Oh, early in my career, probably 360, 350, somewhere in there. At the end of the year, I mean, playing in Cincinnati, a little, Skyline Chili,
Gold
late
Star?
nights. Weight got out of hand a little bit later in the year. Let's put it that way.
But that's big. I mean, I see Joe Thomas now, and if I said to somebody, you know what he used to do, they might say if he played football, maybe he was a tight end or something.
Yeah, he's gotten it off and looks great, man. You hear that all the time. The big guys get smaller and the small guys get bigger. He's definitely one of those guys that's taking it all off. I mean, there's a couple of guys over time. I think of Alan Faneca and some of those and Matt Kirk, but it's you know what? I'm looking forward to eating good, staying healthy, and keeping it moving, baby.
When's the last time you put on your Super Bowl ring?
I actually had a chance to go. The USGA Women's Amateur was here at US Women's Amateurs here at Bel Air Country Club a couple weeks ago, and I got a chance to go and do kind of the tee box for their practice rounds. And it was a lot of fun just to kind of talk to all the women and ladies that were teeing off and get a chance to greet them and welcome them to LA. So I wore the ring just to kind of brag a little bit, maybe.
Okay.
Show it off. They loved it. It was the idea of winning the amateur. And I happened to run into 3 LSU girls playing in the women's amateur, and we had a blast talking about LSU. They tried to get me to play with them. We had a good time.
Yeah, but you got your allegiance to another school. You can't play with LSU, can you?
Why's that?
That you would you'd be playing with them. You're okay with that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm a baby.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, LSU Tiger.
And your accent's not as good as Brian Kelly's, by the way.
Well, he's got a much better Southern lingo than I do. That was impressive. I don't know how he pulled that off. I hope that was intentional. I'll put it that way. But they got a good football team this year. I'm looking forward to it. I'm pretty excited. I'm going to get down to a game 20-year anniversary of our national championship in 2003 with Nick Saban. So I'm looking forward to getting down there.
Good to talk to you. Have fun with Mattel. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, appreciate it, Dan.
Andrew Whitworth, a 2021 Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year and 4-time Pro Bowl offensive lineman. I had one of those moments where I go, did he play at Alabama? And then all of a sudden he goes, no, why would I have a problem with LSU? And I'm like, okay, E me.